just don't really think that argument holds. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to talk about why I think rose hairs do make great beginner tarantulas. A lot of people will tell you that rose hairs are not good beginner tarantulas, though previously they were kind of like the iconic beginner tarantula. I've noticed an increase in some rose hair hate. So today we're going to talk about pros and cons of rose hair tarantulas. But first, before we talk about that, let's kind of talk about what a rose hair tarantula is. There are several species that can be considered a rose hair. That is just a common name. We have the Grammostola porteri, the Grammostola rosea, the Grammostola species north, the Grammostola species mole, and I'm sure there are probably a few others that could be considered as such that maybe I'm not aware of, but those are pretty much the 4 species you're gonna come across. Some people will also tell you that those 4 species are all actually one species, just different color variations. Are you confused yet? Okay, good. I think everyone is. First, let's talk about some pros. So first, let's talk about the low humidity requirements rose hairs have. They don't really need damp substrate. They don't really like damp substrate. They come from very dry environments. So really just a water dish that you fill up every few days is like just enough. Another reason why I think that rose hairs make fantastic beginner species is because they have a very low venom potency. There are a lot of tarantulas, specifically old worlds, but some new worlds that possess a very painful venom. You're gonna wanna get something that is less potent in case you do have an incident. As a beginner, I was more comfortable working with species that were less venomous. You always wanna be comfortable with the animal you're working with. Leading into that, rose hairs generally aren't going to bite first. They have a patch of urticating hairs on their bum. When irritated, they will just kick them off onto the predator. You might be a little itchy, but they're not really going to be dangerous unless you get them in your nose or your eyes or anything like that. As long as you're not like, you know, putting its butt in your face, you should be fine. Just know about that. They're also pretty inexpensive in comparison to other tarantulas. The prices have crept up just a little bit because Chile has closed its border. They said no more taking tarantulas from them. Everything that you kind of come across now is going to be captive bred for the most part. That's work, that takes work. Prices go up. That's just how it is. But they're still pretty inexpensive. I see them go for like $15, $30 for a sling. That's not too much. They're also incredibly hardy. They're going to be able to take some neglect. And that's not to say,
oh, neglect them, it'll be fine.
But it's really hard to neglect them. So with that said, they actually live a really long time. Females can live up to about 30 years possibly. Males generally will live about 5 years. I'm sure you could probably get 10 years out of them. But that is a con, is that yeah, they live a really long time, but they grow really slowly. This was my second tarantula. It's a Grammostola porteri, and she is about maybe 1.5 inches. She has barely grown, and I got her in August of 2017. It is now July of 2019, and she is still this big. Another thing you need to know is that they do fast generally for a pretty long time. When I first got my adult female, she didn't eat for the first 8 months that I had her until she molted. So their pre-molt will last a really long time. I've heard about them going for more than a year without food. And although that can be really concerning, as long as you have water in there for them and you are still trying to offer them food once in a while, I wouldn't worry. It's hard not to, but it's just normal for them. They take a really long time in pre-molt because they take a really long time to grow. A big gripe that some people have is that rose hairs are apparently really moody. But I have some news to break to you guys. Literally every tarantula can be really moody. Even my nicest tarantulas have struck at paintbrushes or attacked a water stream on occasion. I've gotten threat postures from some New World species that I would have never expected it from. So if you're not prepared to have a tarantula that's going to be moody sometimes, then maybe a tarantula isn't for you, because they all have that possibility. Another thing I hear people complain about a lot is that they are a pet rock and that they don't really do anything. Most tarantulas are pet rocks and they don't really do anything. Yes, you have some very quick arboreals that will teleport and stuff like that. However, tarantulas just kind of sit there and exist. Let's be real. They don't really do anything except maybe they'll dig or they'll web. They just kind of sit there and like wait for prey to walk by. They're not like these intelligent creatures, unfortunately not. They don't have a sense of really much of anything except their instincts. Everything's based off instinct. So they don't really do much, guys. And then others will say that they're a boring brown color. Personally, I think rose hairs are among some of the most beautiful tarantulas. They are a really cool shade of reds or browns, and their carapaces are usually a really pretty pink color, especially right after they molt. I see some like kind of whites and grays in some of them. There's different variations. I just don't really think that argument holds very strong. With all that said, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something, especially if you're kind of considering getting a rose hair as your first tarantula. If you were looking for a video to tell you it's okay, it's okay. Go get a rose hair. They're amazing. I wanted to show you guys really quick what a good setup will look like for your rose hair. So I just keep mine in a, I believe, large critter keeper. It might be the medium one. And I supply about 4 inches of eco earth, and also I supply a water dish as well as a hide. As you see, they're super inexpensive to house. You can always improvise and make it even cheaper and do different DIYs. They also don't really have much maintenance at all, so really just spot clean. You don't have to change the substrate or anything like that. And to house a sling, it's even easier. I just used a food storage container, poked some holes for ventilation, put a handful of eco earth in there, and ready to go. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Like this video if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you are not, and you want to be. Don't forget that I have an Instagram that I use probably way too much. It's at Tarantula.Kat. You can go follow me there. All right, thank you so much for watching. Bye.